Hello dear students, welcome to our series on geography. Today we deal with terrain pattern in Asia in the second episode in this series on world regional geography. Today let us try to understand how the continent has shaped the terrain pattern. The following subjects are the main geographical features of terrain. Today we shall study terrain pattern, birth of mountains, mineral deposits and soil pattern, shaping of ecosystems, and how biodiversity profile is influenced by terrain pattern. So, let us begin with terrain pattern. Terrain or landform in a particular region is primarily created by geological forces. These geological forces can be drift of tectonic plates, volcanic eruptions, birth of mountains, plateaus, deserts, rivers and deltaic ecosystems as well as riparian ecosystems. In Asia, we see the cataclysmic clash of Gondwana land against the underbelly of Asia, which resulted in the formation of a whole range of fold mountains starting from Central Asia. We come to the birth of these fold mountains a little later. The Pamir knot in Central Asia created ripple effects on bedrock and heaved up the land in many places to create tablelands and plateaus. Other geological factors that influence terrain pattern include ridges that enable the water to flow and create rivers, coupled with weather patterns, ocean currents, windfall, rainfall and snowfall patterns, as well as the terrain pattern, a biodiversity profile emerged which in turn influenced agricultural evolution, cultivation, crop patterns and agricultural best practices. This set of agro-meteorological conditions helped man develop traditions and vocations adapted perfectly to his living conditions. These are all the subjects we will attempt to understand in greater detail in the coming weeks. Terrain includes a set of geographical features including but not limited to bedrock, caves, rock formations both under and over the ground, hills, mountains, plateaus, canyons and cliffs, ridges both on land and on the sea floor, different types of soil, rivers, streams, brooks, waterfalls, etc., freshwater and saltwater lakes and lagoons, estuaries and deltaic ecosystems, mud flats, deserts, sand dunes, fertile plains, etc. Terrain creation is influenced by a number of factors. Millions of years of erosion of rocks have developed into different types of soil. There is a subtle difference between the terms terrain and ecosystem. While terrain can be construed as a distinct landform evolving into a particular geographical feature, ecosystem refers to the environment created by the terrain and can include trees, forest or canopy, water bodies, ambient temperature, rainfall, snowfall and wind patterns, and the wildlife, microbes, flora and fauna that the particular landform or water body supports and sustains. The Pamir knot. The Pamir knot is a high plateau at the convergence of the Eurasian plate with the Gondwana land. This cataclysmic clash of the two tectonic plates gave rise to the Pamir knot, which is the birthplace of many fold mountains emanating from Central Asia. The ripple effects on bedrock caused by the clash of the tectonic plates led to the birth of many fold mountains. Three tectonic plates converge at Central Asia. These are the Gondwana land, the Australasian plate and the Eurasian plate. The Middle Eastern plate or Arabian plate is not clearly earmarked as another plate in itself, but nevertheless we need to reckon with it. The thrust of the rocks where Gondwana land clashes against Asia is at the rate of 48 millimeters per year. The creation of fold mountains of Himalayas helped form another set of fold mountains of a lesser height, the Vindhyas, Aravalis and Satpuras, which slope westward. Thereon, they form sand dunes and then the Thar Desert. So, we get a picture now of how terrain is formed. As the tectonic plates clashed at the Pamir Knot at 38 degrees 22 north latitude and 72 degrees 52 east longitude, the rise of the fold mountains of the Himalayas caused a thrust of subterranean rocks in the Terai Arc south of the Himalayas. This corresponds to the Indo-Gangetic plains on the north banks of the Ganges in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh, southeast of New Delhi, from 27 degrees 45 north latitude to 77 degrees 36 east longitude. This continuous thrust against the Himalayas also causes the sustained growth of both the Himalayan fold mountains as well as sustains the height of the Deccan Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is supported by the upheaval of the mountains on its southwest, that is the mountain chain, the Western Ghats. The Deccan Plateau thus slopes east. This explains why almost all the Indian rivers drain into the Bay of Bengal. The rivers find it difficult to drain themselves uphill through the west coast. The few rivers that do drain into the Arabian Sea on the west coast drill channels through the mountain passes and drain west. The major west flowing rivers include the Narmada and the Tapti, the Mandovi or the Mahadai, the Kali, Sharavati, Aghanashini, Netravati, Kumardhara and almost all the rivers in Kerala, that is 41 of Kerala's 44 rivers drain west to the Arabian Sea. At least 62 rivers take birth in the Western Ghats. With almost all the major Indian rivers flowing with minerals, salts and soils towards the Bay of Bengal, the Deccan Plateau slopes eastward. Consequently, the Eastern Ghats is comparatively lower and subsides gently into the coast on the Bay of Bengal. After touching the coast, the plateau slopes very steeply into the ocean floor, becoming the continental shelf. A plateau may be defined as a landmass rendered high or uplifted from the sea level because of the movement of bedrocks. Examples of other plateaus are the Iranian Plateau, also known as the Persian Plateau, which is a geological formation in Southwest Asia and is part of the Eurasian plate. The Iranian Plateau is wedged between the Arabian and the Indian plates. It has the Zagros Mountains to the west, the Caspian Sea to the north, the Straits of Hormuz and the Arabian Sea to the south, and the Indus River to the east. Often, plateaus are marked distinctively by geological features like river basins, flow of rivers, deserts, mountains, seas, bays, etc., as well as distinctive edges. Similarly, the Deccan Plateau is also hemmed in by geological features. It is a marked highland heaved up from the surrounding coastal belt in the Indian peninsula. The northern edges of Deccan Plateau are marked by the mountain ranges of Vindhyas, Aravallis and the Satpuras in the northwest and the Indo-Gangetic plain in the northeast, while the Western Ghats distinct from the coastal belts. Coastal belts in India are pockmarked by deltas and estuaries, mangrove and littoral forests, swamps and lagoons on the east coast. The Western Ghats, a high mountain range on the west coast, is marked by the western coastal plain, estuaries and mangroves and swamps. It is the Western Ghats that heaves and keeps aloft the Deccan Plateau on its western ledge. The Eastern Ghats is a ridge of a lesser height as compared to the Western Ghats that nevertheless lowers the plateau towards the Bay of Bengal. The rise of the mountain ranges from the Pamir Knot in different directions plowed ridges and channels all over South Asia. Tracing the river paths all along, innumerable rivers take their birth in the Pamir Knot and drain down salts and minerals during their dance down the ridges towards the oceans. Thanks to these rivers, much of South Asia is rendered infinitely fertile. The Yangtze Kiang, the Honghe and Mekong flow through much of China. Mekong flows through as many as 13 countries before touching the Pacific coast of Vietnam. The Ganges, the Yamuna, the Brahmaputra, the Tsangpo, Indus and her 4 tributaries, Tigris and Euphrates, Irrawaddy, are the major rivers in Asia. Nevertheless, a total of 32 big rivers drain the salts and soils of Asia to the oceans around the continent. South Asia is replete with estuaries and deltas of massive river systems.